What is up, guys? It's your boy Burn Baby Burn Cactus, and today the Season of the Wish has just gone live within Destiny 2, and the new seasonal exotic is the Dragon's Breath exotic rocket launcher, returning from all the way back in Destiny 1. This time around it has completely new perks, but is it any good? Well, to find out, we're giving it a real test, taking it through the entirety of the Last Wish raid, the largest raid in Destiny 2 history, and ranking it on every encounter. Let's see how this thing performs in a real end game scenario. And so, let's get started. Now, first things first, let's take a look at what the heck the Dragon's Breath actually does. Now, it has the intrinsic trait, Composite Propellant, which says, rockets embed themselves in struck targets and periodically eject incendiary fuel that inflicts scorch. The longer this weapon goes without firing, the more fuel the next rocket contains. Now, it also has another unique perk here called High Octane. Igniting nearby targets partially replenishes fuel. This weapon refills itself from reserves upon gaining maximum fuel. So essentially, you shoot the Dragon's Breath and it's going to spit out like different projectiles that are going to hit the ground and cause scorch, or hit targets and cause scorch. And if you wait a while before shooting, you'll actually see like a little buff in the corner of your screen that goes up to ×5, and that is going to give you a round that shoots out a ton of different projectiles before eventually stopping. Now, let's start the test here in the first encounter against Kali. So, how does this rocket perform here? Well, for the first test, what we tried to do is just stand in a well and shoot her directly. As you can see, things start out, actually not bad, and then they start to slow down pretty dramatically. That first shot with ×5 really does do a decent amount of damage for a singular shot, but as you have subsequent follow-up shots, things start to really peter off. So we weren't immediately impressed. However, we tried something different. Instead of shooting the target directly, what if you shot right beneath Kali's feet? Because the rockets are going to spit out projectiles in kind of the same direction, almost like a thing of Roman candles. So can we actually just shoot Kali in the feet and then all the projectiles go up and hit her directly? Well, we tried that, and as you can see, it didn't really work out. The thing is, the actual direct impact damage you do miss out on, and when the rockets are embedded in a target, they seem to kind of periodically also just additionally explode or provide so much scorch on that singular target that they will ignite multiple times even, especially if it's ×5. And so overall, we found that the direct impact damage was better than shooting at the feet. So we tried again, this time inflicting a little bit more weaken effects. We also had the people using wells switch to Lunafaction boots, which they probably should have been wearing in the first place, but I digress. As you can see right here, at the end of the day, we actually did get a decent amount of damage on Kali. Now, we did have to, shoot her, go and hide for a bit, come back out. When you do that, you are going to get a new ×5 rocket, which is kind of nice. And overall, this thing did kind of okay damage. And at the very end, you're going to see us kind of finish off Kali with some other weapons, just deciding to move things along rather than having to restart from the very beginning. So the rocket in and of itself was not able to kill Kali. Again, the damage could have potentially been there, but we all ran out of ammo before we actually did enough damage to take her down, unfortunately. And therefore, I'm going to give this thing, at the end of the day, a 6 out of 10. It is above average, and there may be something to the strategy of shooting one ×5 rocket and then switching to another weapon, and some of you are probably already in the comments telling me to do that, but the problem is that when you're like reviewing an exotic, am I now reviewing, the cracked sniper rifle that we're using alongside this rocket, or the rocket itself? So for this video, we're just going to keep things to the Dragon's Breath actually doing the damage. Now, let's move on from there, because Kali does have a massive headshot multiplier, and obviously we're not getting crits with this thing, so maybe it performs better on some of the other bosses out there. Next up, we have the second encounter with Shiroi. So for this encounter, we have to do a certain amount of damage, 1/6 of her health, or else the whole team wipes. So how did it perform there? Hypothetically, this is going to be decent because every time Shiroi moves to a different location, you have time to re-get the ×5 bonus. Well, as you can see, the Dragon's Breath gets it done. It gets it done, but it's close. Like, we definitely were really getting close some of the times when it came to reaching that damage threshold, and oh my goodness, a couple of times I thought we were gonna wipe. But at the end of the day, a lot of people, and you'll see me doing it, like, shot that initial ×5 rocket and then waited around a bit, maybe shot 1 or 2 more to reach that damage threshold. So it's close. We weren't, like, shooting constant rockets. That would have made it, a little bit more safe, but we're trying to actually be ammo efficient here and play to this rocket's strengths. Now, in terms of ad clearing in this encounter, I mean, it's insane. Like, you shoot it at the ground and it just spits out so much damage over a wide area. You can kill so many ads with a single rocket. The problem, however, is that when it's doing that, man, you injure yourself a lot with this thing. Like, I wish this thing didn't do any damage to you, because otherwise it'd be so much more fun if it didn't. But regardless, I'd say overall, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Very good if you do want to use it for ad clearing, you just got to be careful, and really not bad to get a ×5 rocket at Shiroi, switch to another weapon probably realistically, and take her down. Like, it gets it done, it's just a little too close for comfort. Now, moving on from there, guys, let's get to the third encounter against Morgi. Now, this is interesting. Morgi has a huge surface area to shoot, so just the amount of actual projectiles landing back on Morgi should actually be pretty huge. For this, the ad clearing section, I really just kind of used it once against the ads. With this rocket, you're really incentivized to not use it too much. Like, you're trying to wait around for that propellant, especially if you do plan on using it on the boss. You want to have, ×5 going into that. So it kind of dissuades you from using it as an ad clearing weapon if you're also planning to use it against a boss. But regardless, against Morgi, as you can see, it actually performed relatively well, and we were able to get that cheeky 1 phase. Now, I've certainly seen weapons do better, but again, just the size of Morgi means that you're just going to end up getting a lot of just sheer damage numbers from projectiles, spitting up and coming back down and also hitting him on the back. So really not the worst here, but also certainly not the best. I'm going to give it an 7.5. 7.5 out of 10 is fair. Now, moving on from there, guys, we have the Vault encounter. And this is very interesting because there's no bosses here. So this is just going to be a ranking of its ad clearing capabilities. Now, you do have the Might of Riven mini bosses. And how does that perform against those? Well, as you can see, if you do have ×5 composite propellant, you can stick one of these guys when they spawn, and it will die by the time it gets to that plate. So one single shot can kill one of these guys, which is actually pretty impressive. I've tested a lot of weapons here, and almost none can actually one-shot these guys, right? Like, most rockets will get them close, but won't actually kill them. Now, you do have to wait around for the propellant to get to ×5, but you're going to be anyways, right? Like, you kill the Might of Riven, and then you have to wait around for the next one on your side to spawn. So it's actually a little bit better than you may think for taking those guys out. Now, as for the rest of the ads, certainly you send one round sailing into one of these rooms, and it can do a ton. You do want to be careful about using it too close to the plates, because man, again, the self-damage really sucks with this thing. It would be so much more fun without it, like I said earlier, because if you do shoot near the plates, like, you're going to end up killing yourself with this thing. It's just unfortunate. So overall, in this encounter, I think, frankly, another, 7.5 out of 10 is warranted. If it didn't cause damage to yourself, I'd probably bump it up to an 8. Oh my goodness, maybe even 8.5. But it's just too dangerous to use against a lot of the ads that are spawning close to you, right? Moving on from there, however, guys, we have the test against the Big Daddy Riven. And you guys already know we're going for that cheese, baby. How much damage can you actually do within a limited time window with the Dragon's Breath? Well, Riven is actually huge, so we should be getting a ton of additional damage thanks to those extra projectiles coming back down and hitting Riven. Or are they just gonna hit her in the eye? Well, first off, as you can see right here, we did just test shooting Riven directly in the mouth, and overall the damage was alright. I mean, we got to about half health in that first damage phase. However, as we said back with Callie, there's a lot of different ways you can actually do damage with this thing. So that was shooting Riven in the mouth. What if we switched around and shot above Riven's head? Kind of what you can see right here when my teammate was just throwing these solar grenades. They went away for damage, so it wasn't influenced by that. But they rained down projectiles on top of Riven, and this is a strategy you can use to cheese Riven doing this. So if we shot the Dragon's Breath above Riven's head, would it rain down all the projectiles? Well, as you can see, no, it did not really work out properly. We were doing absolutely no damage trying to do that. So yeah, a bit of a disappointing result right there. Okay, but what about Riven's arm? There's a lot of different cheese strategies, especially involving swords, where you're just DPSing the arm instead of the face. Well, we tried it there, and as you can see, it actually went not bad. For this one, we actually got a good chunk past half of Riven's health. Now, certainly we were nowhere near like almost getting the kill, but the damage numbers really weren't that bad, and maybe if everyone, did as much damage as the person who did the most damage, like we could have potentially, I feel like we'd still be a bit away from a 1 phase, but this certainly was our best overall result, is DPSing kind of the hand, and you can see me sometimes send a few shots back to almost the neck, just kind of near Riven's body that can soak up so much of those extra projectiles. And therefore, judging by that result, below half, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. It is above average. Most weapons cannot get below half of Riven's health during this cheese, so I think that is relatively impressive, but, not absolutely insane. Now, we do have one more encounter here, the Queen's Walk. This, again, is all about ad clearing, and as you can see, you send one of those Dragon's Breath rounds out of Riven's mouth, and oh my goodness, you can kill a lot of ads, especially if you get teleported into that secondary area. As you can see, there is a ton of ads that, again, you can kill here. But yet again, you have the issue of the self-damaging. Like right here, I put around a little too close to the taken goop I gotta get, and yeah, I just die when I try to get near it. I thought I could skirt around it, but apparently not. So that is one of the biggest things holding this weapon back, is the self-damage. It would be such a fun weapon to use if it wasn't for that. I really hope Bungie changes that in the future. And so overall, in the Queen's Walk, it's undoubtedly effective, but very dangerous. I'm going to give it here a 6.5 out of 10, which is also, I think, a fair rating for its overall performance in this raid. 6.5 out of 10. Certainly above average, certainly does have some potential, but also has some major problems. And so guys, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.